ceremony we just, or she just did recently. Cheers.
Yeah, and I feel like for some, I just kind of the story of how the pipe even came to me, I think is relevant here. You know that I was kind of hesitant and I did not want to be a part of carrying a pipe, or I was curious about it, but I was also hesitant. And in the minute we met, we hit it off, and there was definitely a spiritual connection there. And then I started to have dreams about this pipe that I was smoking, which I didn't want to. I have my own kind of history with kind of tobacco and smoking and stuff like that. So I just had kind of some hesitation with it. But I told you about the dreams I was having, and you told me to draw the pipe. So I did. And years later, Jim gifted me with what we now call the blue feather pipe. And in some circles, I've been called the blue feather lady. So that's kind of how this pipe came about. And I think another interesting thing that we've come to know about this particular pipe that I have with me here is that it seems to really focus on relations. And there are two spirits that are in the pipe, and there's kind of a male. Blue eagle is kind of the male, and then white elk is the female, and they both kind of hang out. And I take care of this pipe. So that's kind of the history of this pipe. And I do not talk about it much. I don't advertise. I don't do public ceremonies, really. I'm very private with the pipe that I care for. So that's kind of the history I wanted to share. And this happened, I think it was Tuesday night. Tuesday morning, I'm sitting out on my deck, I'm watching my hummingbirds, and out of nowhere, I start to feel these four spirits or presence come before me, and they look to be male and Native American in culture. And there were three kind of elders, and then another male that was a little younger, maybe 40s or 50s. And they were kind of sitting before me while I'm just hanging out having my tea. I don't have the pipe on my mind at all. And they started kind of calling to me like I need to do a ceremony. I don't know who these people are, but it was weird. All of a sudden, I kind of felt trancy that morning, and I started doing a pipe ceremony in my, like, visualizing it while I was sitting having my tea and watching the hummingbirds. And I thought, well, I should probably actually do a pipe ceremony. I can't just be thinking about it in my head. Well, I had to work that day. So got dressed, did my day of work. Husband came home, had dinner, watched a movie. He goes to bed, and I'm still feeling this pull to do the ceremony. So at like 9 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, I sit with the pipe and I do the ceremony. And I wanted to share this with you, Jim, because it was so intense and profound. And the message I got, even though I get nervous even talking about it, was so, I think, important for kind of our people and our group regarding world peace and those kinds of things. So I wanted to share this with you. So thank you for letting me do this. So I do the ceremony, and there's many parts to this that I think are important. For starters, these four spirits or native elders were definitely front and center the minute I took the pipe out. And when I started to do the ceremony, the amount of spirits that were coming from each direction was profound. Like, I mean, just gushes of spirits from each of the directions wanted to sit in the circle. And when I did for Mother Earth and Father Sky, just the amount of spirits that came to sit in the circle kind of overwhelmed me. And then I saw you and Becca and Kat and all of our friends, all of your higher selves came in. And so the circle that all of us were occupying was magnificent. And when I held up the pinch, I did two prayers. First prayer was for rain. I live in Munns Park, and even though Flagstaff has gotten a little rain, in Munns Park we have gotten hardly anything. We hear about rain, but we haven't gotten any. And so I prayed for rain and asked for a visualization of rain with the first pinch. And I don't know if you know, in Munns Park, Wednesday night, like 24 hours later, it poured. But the other pinch was really around humanity, healing, and kind of looking for that next step of finding our way and really healing relations with each other. And when I held the pinch up and I asked for everyone to kind of visualize as if it had already happened, this kind of new peace on earth, peace within our country, peace within countries, peace on the earth, peace with the environment, peace with nature. And when I held that pinch up and I started to feel this kind of group visualization, and I think about that that part in the movie What the Bleep Do We Know, when people would sit in prayer in inner cities and could reduce crime by 25% because they were visualizing together. I felt like that's what was happening, and the amount of emotion that went into that pinch, it took my breath away, and I started to uncontrollably cry. It was so amazing. So I put the pinch in the bowl and I just said, welcome, you are loved, and so I put the pinch in the bowl. The other significant part here is that I always hesitate a little bit with the actual smoking of the pipe. And you know that sometimes I fumble with this. And I have never performed that part of the ceremony with such elegance and effortlessness. And it really almost felt like I wasn't the one smoking the pipe. It was so beautiful and effortless and amazing. Just a well-oiled execution of that part where sometimes I kind of fumble and don't have confidence. And it was beautiful, and just watching the smoke very calmly kind of go out into the spirit world. And it was very easy to smoke, and I kept kind of visualizing and passing it. What happened after that was what I wanted to share with you. There are times when we've done ceremony together that I will have a message, or you'll have a message, or someone has a message. And sometimes I get nothing, and sometimes I get something. And again, sometimes I get nervous with that part, like, oh, am I doing it right? Am I going to get a message? And I just sat in meditation, I'd say for a good 15 minutes after the ceremony. And for a while, I didn't get anything. And then out of nowhere came a very important message. And this is what I wanted to share with all of you. I started to see just a sea of people before me, but I couldn't see their faces. All I could see was kind of like their outline. So it's kind of like their silhouette, and just thousands upon thousands upon thousands of silhouettes of people. So significantly, I couldn't see what color they were. I couldn't see what gender they were. I couldn't see how old or young they were. I couldn't see their sexual orientation. I couldn't see anything. It was just human beings and their silhouettes. And so I'm just kind of seeing this dark silhouette of all these people. And then I started to see a fire inside each one of them. And it was like humanity was on fire. And this started to upset me a little bit. And I thought of like forest fire, like are our houses going to burn? And all of a sudden, this big group of spirits said, no, this is humanity on fire. And I started to get upset because with what I do for my profession, I'm a wellness coach, and before that, a therapist. I am seeing a lot of people in a lot of pain and on fire. And people have even joked, this country's on fire, quote unquote. So I'm seeing all of these silhouettes with this internal flame. And I felt sad. And the spirit said, don't be sad. This is not about a forest fire. This is about humanity burning. And they had kind of talked about that parallel of when a part of the forest burns, even though it's really terrible when it's happening, the beauty after the fact is what really needs to be brought into this. And the Spirit said, all of humanity needs to tend to their fire. And I started to see things like people burning out their anger from past trauma, past betrayals, financial fear, hidden biases and racisms that are still going on in this country that we need to finally own our own biases that are still happening in this country. And the Spirit said, tend to your fire, put these things into the fire and be done. To forgive. Like, it was just like, tend to your fire was that was the message. And that this is the time to really burn any past anythings or any future fears, and to really come to a place of being a better human being.
Mm.
And when we are better, we are then in better relations with others. And so as I'm watching humanity burn, and I'm kind of feeling the burn inside myself and everyone in the circle, we were also having our internal flame. I then saw some perish. I saw death and people fall, but most of the silhouettes ended up with a pile of ash. And then, Jim, I saw the most beautiful thing. I saw roses start to grow out of the ashes of each of the people that I was seeing. And all these roses started to grow out, and in all different colors and all different shapes and sizes. And we started to intermingle and tangle and create this beautiful, abundant beauty together. And I literally was just sobbing with, all I can say is it felt like gratitude of, we did it.
Mm-hmm.
We come to a better place. But the course to get there is tending to our fire and really kind of doing some work, some emotional work. But the end could not have been more beautiful and profound. And it really stuck with me. And I wanted to talk to you immediately, and I wanted to share, with you, and then have you decide if this is something that we should share with others. But I have never in my life been a part of a ceremony like that where the vision was so deep and so profound. And I just felt like the message was just something that maybe some of us need to hear. So that's what happened.
So it looks like you've been peeking into my next Zoom class. This was a great description and has given me a name for it.
Mm.
Tend to your fire.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I get this figured out with the new computer, I'm going to be producing it and doing a YouTube about it. And I just want to say to everybody that gets this, that I'll email it to, this is the key. This is absolutely the key from the great mystery for the next step of humanity. And I'll explain what I received once I have the proper equipment all set up, which I have it. Today I'm doing it for the first time. This is my old piece of equipment. My old computer, 2 ports on it blew out this morning. So I just picked up the new computer yesterday. So Shawna, you are really keyed in on the next evolution of humanity, and the key is going to be tending to our fire. And so do you have, or can I have permission to share this in a big way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And